So over the past couple of days, Kanye West has lost it a little bit. He has been what I call rage tweeting nonstop. And he has said some things that are clearly, truly anti-Semitic, right? We're not saying, we're not using this, oh, if you're pro-Palestine. I'm not talking about that, because that's not anti-Semitic. But he has said some things that are really bad. And it was just nonstop for, I think, the past 48 hours. And eventually his account, right? And he wasn't just tweeting about that. He was tweeting about other things. He went after Dave Chappelle and said Dave Chappelle was ugly and that he kisses people's ass and he's not really funny. I was thinking of all the things that I saw go through my way the past couple of days from Kanye West. Like he just went out of it. And then all of a sudden he just started showing all these different porn videos. It was just, I don't know, all over the place. Piers Morgan had a panel to discuss Kanye's actions. But as I listened to this panel, I don't really think it's really about Kanye West. I think the bigger picture is something else. And I want you to ask what you think that is about. Let's go ahead and dive in here again. What is the real story?
What does that mean? Is that ambiguous? Is that freedom of speech? Or is that a clarion call to commit acts of violence against Jewish people? What seems crystal clear is that Kanye West was in clear violation of X's own rules on hateful conduct. The platform under Elon Musk has suspended more than 5 million accounts since he took over. It censored Kanye's account yesterday as not suitable for work when he posted legal pornography. And Musk has previously banned Kanye West entirely for posting a swastika interlaced with the Star of David, which he said was an incitement to violence. So why was Kanye allowed to spend the whole weekend unloading shocking abuse on Jewish people before apparently leaving voluntarily? And more broadly, just what the hell is going on with this idiot? Well, joining me now to debate all this, host of the Fresh and Fit podcast, Myron Gaines, the rapper and podcaster Zuby, America's rabbi and author of Holocaust Holiday, Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, and the commentator and YouTuber Choke No Joke. Okay,
So let's pause here. Look at who Piers Morgan has on this panel. So you have Myron, who is very racist towards Black people, very anti-Black. He's a part of that Fresh and Fit podcast. Very racist towards Black people. And then you have Rabbi Shmuley, who's also very racist. So look at who he brought onto the panel to have this conversation while he's, accusing Kanye West of being racist. So just keep that in mind, guys, because perception is everything. So you need to know that before you listen to this.
Start with you, Myron, because you and I got into a little Twitter exchange yesterday about free speech. And it seems to me with Kanye and this tirade that's went on for days, there are two debates to be had. One is whether what he was doing was contrary to X's own rules by the same definition that they have suspended millions of accounts. And I posted a graph showing why people got suspended, a lot of it for harassment, hateful conduct, and so on. So I think there's literally no dispute or doubt that he did. So the question remains, why was he then not suspended, but able to leave voluntarily? But the wider debate that I think you and I were having was about freedom of speech and where that begins and ends. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you seem to be suggesting that you don't think there is an end. In other words, you can say absolutely anything you want, to which I would say, well, I don't think you should be able to say to 32 million people on a platform that you want to make Jewish people your slaves and whip them. Do you?
Pause before Myron even answers, because I think there's what you think people should be able to say and what they're legally allowed to say, right? So just keep that in mind as you listen to this as well. And what is very interesting to me is that Piers Morgan is very quick to come out and say what you should not say or you should not do when it comes to a particular group of people. But you never see Piers Morgan come out or stick his neck out with other groups of people. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. Let's continue.
Well, I think the thing is, when Elon took over X, he wanted to mirror it with the First Amendment. And the First Amendment allows a broad range of speech to be allowed. And the reality is, if we don't have free speech, we don't have a democracy. And that's literally from Elon Musk himself. Now, we want to talk about unequal punishment on X, you know, based on some people saying this and getting punished and people saying this and not getting punished. That's a whole other conversation. But I think if you're going to mirror the First Amendment with Twitter, then you need to allow that speech in.
Right, but look, on the first point about X's rules, he clearly transgressed pretty much every rule they have. I think that's unarguable. So it's for Elon to explain why, in the end, he was only censored, which he was, because he posted legal pornography. It seems to me extraordinary that legal pornography is deemed to be more offensive and more worthy of censorship than saying that you should make Jews your slaves and whip them. So let me bring in on that.
Before he brings in the next person, let me jump in here for a second, because what many of us have noticed on X in particular is that when you make racist comments towards Black people, when we're called the N-word with the ER at the end, etc., those people aren't suspended. Those accounts aren't removed. So again, I want you to ask yourself this question. Why is it that you don't see Piers Morgan sticking his neck out for the racism that is thrown towards other groups? Why doesn't he stick his neck out for that? Why does Piers Morgan jump into his seat, step in front of this damn camera to stick out his neck for a certain group when other groups are experiencing this same type of behavior on social media? Where is Piers Morgan? Nowhere. Nowhere to be found. Think about that for a second. Myron Gaines, this dude right here in the second square, this is the same guy who I have seen on Twitter Spaces heavily attack Black Americans. Now, some of you looking at him, you may think that he's Black American. He's not. I saw this guy like go after Tariq Nasheed. And although I may not agree with Tariq Nasheed on everything, Myron was way out of line. Heavily spends time tearing down Black Americans. That guy right there. So again, where was the criticism about that from Piers Morgan? You guys see where I'm going with this? You got Rabbi Shmuley over here who has been very racist and nasty towards Palestinians and called them all types of names. Why doesn't Piers Morgan stick out his neck against Rabbi Shmuley when he does this racist activity towards Palestinians? Let's continue.
Zuby, you and I have debated free speech many times, but on that specific point, I mean, do you view the publication of legal pornography on X as better or worse than what he said about making Jews slaves and whipping them?
If I'm being honest, I think it's all bad. I don't think that hardcore pornography should be on X. If I'm being honest, it's not on any other social media platform. And a big reason for that is because kids use these platforms. And if you've got that many followers and you start posting pornography, then naturally you're going to get some minors seeing it. And so that in itself is a problem. When it comes to inciting violence or calling for violence, I think it's fair to say that he did cross that line. I mean, if you're saying to whip a certain race or ethnic group of people, whether he's pretending, and you've got the wider context of everything he's been saying beyond that, you'd have to go through it post by post. I think a lot of them, vast majority of them, I'm not a fan of. I would condemn what he's saying, but I would support his right to free speech. But when it comes up to the point of calling for violence, which he did in that specific one that you brought up, then yeah, that's a clear violation. I don't run X. I'm not Elon. I'm not a moderator. So I'm not in charge of that. I'm a very staunch advocate for freedom of speech.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a line.
So let me pause here for a second, because I do want to explain to people this as well. So when it comes to what's protected by the First Amendment, so when you have a call for violence, no, that is not protected by the First Amendment, and no, that is not protected under free speech. Everyone needs to understand that. And seeing the things that I saw from Kanye, yes, there were some things that were calling for that. So no, that is not protected under free speech, etc. But the point that I want to get across is, why is the focus only on when Kanye does it? And when other people do this, there's nothing. There's no call to take them down. Does everybody follow where I'm going here? There's no call to take them down. Why is it only when it's Kanye or when it's directed towards a certain group? Let's go on a little bit more.
Sounds like you share my view. I mean, bringing in the rabbi here. I mean, Rabbi, if I was Jewish, I'm not. I'm an Irish Catholic. If I was Jewish, I'd have been utterly sickened by the constant tirade of blatantly anti-Semitic garbage that was being spewed by Kanye West. How are you feeling?
First of all, you're an honorary Jew because you've really supported Israel through this war, and we're grateful, Piers. Tolerating the intolerable is the liberalism of fools.
So this clown over here, Rabbi Shmuley, right? So this guy, you really bring on this person to talk about racism. This guy has said racist, disgusting things about Palestinians, and he said some of those things on Piers Morgan's show. How does he keep popping back up on there? People need to start looking into this. Why is this racist dude constantly back up on this platform? Because the way that I see it, if you're going to have a panel discussion here about Kanye West, you need to have a panel discussion about Rabbi Shmuley and the racist things that he said on this show. To the point where I remember Candace Owens came on to Piers Morgan's show and basically had to defend herself against Rabbi Shmuley. Piers Morgan is in bed with Zionists, guys. This is the point I'm trying to get across with you. Piers Morgan is in bed with the Zionists. He is pro-Israel. And as much as he tries to pretend like, oh, I did say something about those Palestinian kids, you have been in the camp of pro-Israel. Just like you were in the camp of pro-Israel when you were still working for Rupert Murdoch, who is also a Zionist. So they all move in one way. This is what I was trying to tell you. It's not just Israel. It's not just Netanyahu. It's also media. And that includes people like Piers Morgan, who once again, they'll walk away from corporate media and say, I got this show on YouTube now. I'm independent. I told you, watch out for these people that leave corporate media and they step onto YouTube and say, I'm independent. I'm not under their thumb anymore. But they still continue to have the same talking points that they had when they were on corporate media.
Can speak about being a free speech absolutist, but there must be three exceptions: incitement to violence, commission of violence, and admission of violence. What's missing from this discussion is not that Kanye said that Jews should be whipped. It's that Kanye said that he has beaten women, and he said that women should be slapped, and his wife is in an abusive relationship, and Bianca Sensori's family, who live in Melbourne, Australia, have done nothing to rescue her. Are we talking about whether there should be pornography on X? There was pornography at the Grammys. Professional lip readers had him tell his wife, Bianca Sensori, take your mink coat off, and she is totally glassy-eyed. There is no free agency. She's an abused wife. She's an abused woman. How is the media becoming complicit in the absolute degradation and humiliation of this woman who he claims to have dominion over, and he says he slaps her around, and he says that he has practiced violence against women? Where is law enforcement? Why hasn't he been arrested? Why hasn't there been an investigation? Where is the rest of Hollywood and the Grammys to condemn violence against women? The two most targeted victim groups in history are Jews and women. And notice that
does everybody see what's happening here? So first and foremost, when we talk about violence against women, of course, I do not condemn violence. That being said, do you think that Kanye gets the same amount of vitriol if Bianca was a black woman? Would Rabbi Shmuley go out of his way and say, oh no, we got to protect this woman if it was a black woman? Notice how black people, we just got removed from the equation. Hold on, let's go back to what he said right here. I'm trying to tell you guys what they're trying to do. Watch
and
this.
He says he slaps her around and he says that he has practiced violence against women. Where is law enforcement? Why hasn't he been arrested? Why hasn't there been an investigation? Where is the rest of Hollywood and the Grammys to condemn violence against women? The two most targeted victim groups in history are Jews and women, and no.
What happened to black people? And it's interesting that he pretends to care so much about women right now, because he didn't care about all those women that were being bombed, all those women that were starving in Gaza, that Israel was doing those things to. Oh, but not those women, right?
Notice that Kanye, the ultimate bully, goes after both. And let me say one final thing. I utterly reject any belief that Kanye is sick. He is not. He is wicked. There's a big difference. He knows when to turn it off. At the Grammys, he was completely normal. He wasn't there and naked in any way. It was all about his wife. He didn't lose it. He said, you're going to get a lot of attention. Everything he does is willful. It is motivated by a desire for attention, building his businesses. He is not crazy. That is an excuse. He is wicked and he is evil.
Yeah, I mean, I would add to this, choke, no joke.
So this is another thing we're going to point out. So they can point out Kanye is wicked and evil. And again, I don't condemn any of the things that I saw Kanye tweet over on the X platform in the past couple of days. That shit was ridiculous. Don't condemn any of that. Don't condone any of that. That being said, they're willing to come out on a panel to call Kanye wicked and evil and all these things. But you got wicked and evil sitting right on the damn panel. You got wicked and evil sitting with Rabbi Shmuley. Who is he to call anybody else wicked or evil? Like, this is a joke. This is an absolute joke. And of course, Piers Morgan, out of all the people to bring on, this is who he chooses to bring on. He could have put anyone else in Rabbi Shmuley's place. So what I'm trying to warn you of is this. I really do believe this is an effort to once again ramp up the need to suppress more speech. And they are going to use Kanye West as an example of an increase in anti-Semitism, thus more censorship. That's what I really do believe. And I believe Rabbi Shmuley will be a part of that. And I believe Piers Morgan will be a part of that. Piers Morgan got so upset with what he saw Kanye West doing, he reached out to Elon Musk. Piers Morgan, do you reach out to Elon Musk when people have those racist comments towards black people or any other group? No, you don't. So why are you going out of your way to do that for one group, but not for the others? So there is an agenda here. There is an agenda here. And I want people to get ready. I want you to get ready for this. Again, I don't condone any of that shit that Kanye West said. What Kanye West said was wrong. That being said, I really do feel like this is going to be an effort by Zionists to use Kanye West as an example as to why they need to crack down more on speech. And it may not just be X. It may not just be Facebook. You already see what's happening now. What they said, they're going to crack down on the campus protesters. They said they're going to revoke their visas if they say certain words or certain things or whatever. But none of that applies to any type of racism towards other groups. So everybody needs to wake up. Wake up. We're going a little bit more here.
one of the most offensive things he did for me in his defense of Diddy, for example, he suddenly produced a T-shirt which was a scene from the hotel lobby or the corridor where Diddy had beaten up one of his girlfriends, and it had her in the picture, right? This was literally a crime scene of appalling domestic abuse that we all saw the video, and he's trying to sell a T-shirt based on it. Now, that alone, to me, crossed any kind of line that should be tolerable for social media.
So that crossed the line, and that should have crossed the line. Obviously, I don't think anybody approves of what Diddy did to Cassie in that video. I don't agree with Kanye trying to sell T-shirts about that. But that crossed the line with Piers Morgan. But everything else that we've seen for the past 15 months did not cross a line with Piers Morgan. It doesn't cross a line with Piers Morgan when people are beat in the head by the police and they're unarmed. That doesn't cross a line with Piers Morgan. It doesn't cross a line with Piers Morgan when we're seeing babies literally torn apart because of bombs in Gaza. That don't cross a line with Piers Morgan. It didn't cross a line with Piers Morgan when they were intentionally starving people in Gaza. That didn't cross a line with Piers Morgan. He continued to be pro-Israel and to support Israel. But Kanye West choosing to make a T-shirt out of the Diddy situation, that crossed the line. So the thing is, you need to be consistent. And what I'm showing you is that Piers Morgan is not being consistent. So what I think is happening is that this is a coordinated effort to use Kanye West as an example of why we have to crack down more on speech. And I believe that they are using people like Piers Morgan, who is media, to lead that effort. That is what I believe is happening. And I think these people on this panel, this Myron Gaines and all these other people, and Myron, who also is very big on like pro-free speech, they are also participating in this without realizing they're participating in it. And for what I heard sometimes on these Piers Morgan shows, sometimes the topic changed after they invite you to come on to have a discussion, etc. But the reality is, folks, it is another attempt to crack down on censorship. And I think that is the real story. I think that's what they're really trying to do. Again, don't agree with what Kanye said. That shit was not right. But I really do think he will be the example that they will use, and they will use it to continue to crack down on free speech. There will be more pressure on Elon Musk to go and do these things, whether Trump is president or not. And Piers Morgan is a part of it, and Rabbi Shmuley is a part of it. And these guys who just happen to join the panel who really don't agree with that, they're also part of it. That's the real story. This is not the first time Kanye West has said some stupid crap. This is not the first time Kanye West has said things that have been really appalling and disgusting. It's not the first time. But if I see you have someone on the panel who has also said really appalling, disgusting things about other groups of people, and you're not willing to have a red line with them, you're not willing to contact Elon Musk and say, shut them down, then that to me says you are very much in on this, and you guys are trying to crack down more, and you're trying to push more censorship. Be very wary of these people. Very wary. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.